Hello my beautiful friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Nova Gnome Creations and I'm Nova, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. Today we are going to be doing a little crochet and chat, crochet along. I'm going to be making a bottomless mug koozie, or mug cozy, probably mug cozy, and I'm going to make it up as I go in the video, but also then if anybody else wants to make it along with me, we can do that. So if you would like to make a mug cozy that does not have a bottom on it, and you want to just work through it while I work through it, and I'm probably going to chat a lot because it's going to be kind of a crochet and chat, well, go ahead and grab some yarn and go ahead and grab a hook, and we'll see what we get into. Bless you. That was my dog sneezing. I don't know if you could hear that. So let me grab a hook because I actually didn't grab a hook. Why are you sneezing? But I did grab some Red Heart Super Saver Metallic. I wanted to do a variegated yarn, but apparently I own one variegated yarn right now, which is super, super sad. But anyway, before we get into it, I wanted to show you guys this mug cozy that I had made, which is not my pattern, and I will go back to the video that I made this and talked about it, and I will get the pattern and I'll put it in the description. But if you want to know more about it, there is a video where I talk about this. But I just wanted to show you, this is it on another mug, because I had only put it on the one mug that I made it. When I made it, I was putting it on, and I just wanted to show you it actually fits pretty differently on this mug, which I thought was like the exact same shape and the exact same size. This is how high it sits. So I just wanted to show you that because I think it shows that the way that the cozies fit is really dependent on the mug you're using. So I think if you're making a mug cozy, what I'm gonna do anyway, and what I'm gonna recommend people do, is grab the mug that you want to make it to the size of, because I think it's just going to change a lot based on what size mug you have. And also there are so many sizes of mug. Like, this is like a standard sized mug, by the way. I know it looks probably really tiny compared to my big mug. I typically drink out of big mugs because I like big mugs. I like big mugs and I cannot lie. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. So as part of the chat portion of this video, I have had quite the morning trying to do new things. And I guess I'm feeling adventurous this morning. So the first thing I was attempting to do was, my husband is into Warhammer. I've talked about that before. It's really neither here nor there, but what I'm trying to make is an emblem from Warhammer, so that's why I'm giving context. But they're called the Imperial Fists, and it's shaped like this. And don't mind that you can see stuff through because I use scrap paper when I'm doing notes like this. I was trying my best to see if I could come up with a granny square design that would have this on it. And now I'm thinking that my best bet is probably going to be to make little appliques and attempt to make them into these shapes and put them onto a granny square if I want to try to make a granny square. But if you look really closely, if it wants to focus, there we go, you'll see my notes where I was attempting to math. Whew, you guys, that was too much math for my little brain. I can't math. Oh, so much math. But this was all of my notes, and I tried. This was as far as I got, and I'm not happy with it. It will definitely need, if I continue it, which maybe I will at some point, it'll need some modifications. This literally would only be, it would be a very large granny square for one, because this is only, oh my goodness, this is only up to this ring, the outer ring that I have there. So yeah, that was kind of a fail. I mean, it kind of did what I was trying to do. I might have been showing this to you guys upside down. I think I was showing it to you upside down. And don't mind that it is like done sloppily. I wasn't trying to use this. It was just kind of a learning tool to like come up with a shape. But I need to, I'm thinking, take a round of gray from this row to make this more straight. But the bottom part, that line worked out pretty well. But I did a row of granny squares. I did a row of double crochets. I did a round of double crochets. And then I did 2 rounds of single crochets. But this was what I got. Like I said, I'm really not sure if it's possible. But I felt like maybe I could do it. Maybe I could come up with something. So I might go back to that. I might work on it again in the future. But I changed gears. I started looking at doing like a pixel graph. And then I realized that that design is too complicated to do a pixel graph in like any type of a granny square design or granny square size. Even a big granny square size. It just would not look like the logo that I'm trying to make it look like. So I've been working on cutting out a whole bunch of little pieces of paper now, because going down the rabbit hole, I now decided that I'm making a blanket. So I'm like, I decided what my husband's getting for Christmas. I don't know if it'll be this Christmas. It might be next Christmas. But I figured it out now. I'm going to do a 200 by 195, I think it was, stitches blanket. And so it's going to be a total of 38,000 stitches. And it's going to probably be a pretty boring thing to make because it's black and white and it's going to be one type of stitch. And I like things like my mandala blanket, which if this is your first time here, check out the Mandala Tuesday playlist. I will have it linked in my description. I always have that linked in my description. Those are some really fun videos. But like, I prefer like my mandala blanket, where the stitches are different like every row, and like there's like, it keeps you interested, like you're doing different stuff, you're changing colors, like it's an adventure as you go, and it makes you excited for the next part. I could really see this getting tedious. Like I haven't even started it yet, and cutting the papers, the borders off of the graph papers has been tedious. And I don't really have interest in the design either. So yeah, so it's probably going to take me a while. I might try doing like, I don't know, a row a day or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not making any like big promises with this blanket, but I was like, maybe this Christmas, maybe next Christmas. I will try my best to get it done by this Christmas, but I have a feeling it's going to be boring. So, with that being said, Ruru, what do you think you're doing? No, ma'am. No. Oh, now they're both going to do it. Okay, so with that being said, let us jump into making this bottomless granny stitch cozy. So I'm sure that there are patterns for something like this. I actually did not look, but I was asked in one of my comments if I could figure out how. I'll post like a little like insert of the comment, because I know that that's a thing. I think I can figure out how. But yeah, if I successfully do that right and I edited it in right, it'll be here. But I was asked if I could do a bottomless one, because somebody has like a coffee plate, and I want a coffee plate for one. I've never seen one of those before, and that sounds amazing. I could use it right now because my coffee gets cool so quickly, and I don't like it. I am one of those people that I like my coffee hot, or I like my coffee iced, and I do not like it in between. It is like delicious, and then delicious on the opposite end of the spectrum, and then anything in between is gross. I don't like it. Okay, so I have no idea where I'm gonna have to trim that to, but my husband burst into the room and was like, "There's no hot water for a shower." Um, I don't know why it's like that sometimes. The hot water, they just turn it off when they're working on it, and they don't tell us. So it's happened several times. Regardless, what had I been saying? It's been a morning, you guys. So I'm gonna pop that in to the corner. Also, if I sound funny, don't mind it. I'm losing my voice, I'm pretty sure. I'm really hoping that it's just a little touch of losing my voice and that I don't continue to lose my voice. I've had a lot of like congestion, and so I've been coughing a lot, and not to be TMI, but also throwing up a bit because I don't handle congestion well. And yeah, so all of that violence for my poor throat has not been going well. All right, so if you are doing this along with me, go ahead and grab your yarn and we're gonna make a slip knot. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail so that you can weave it in however long you like your tail to be for weaving it in. And then we're going to put that on our hook. This is going to be super, super simple though, by the way, guys. Like I said, I don't have a plan for it. I just was like, oh yeah, that I could definitely do that. So I'm thinking that this is what we'll do. Go ahead and we're going to start chaining, and we want to chain the circumference of whatever your mug of choice is. So we're just gonna chain until we get enough to go around our mug. And I saw this little hack on TikTok yesterday, and I want to try it out. So you get like a little bit of a chain going, and then like, you know how when you want to go to connect to the beginning of your chain, how like you have to worry about it being straight, especially when you're doing like a really long chain? Well, he did, I have to remember what he did. Okay, so when he got like a little bit of a chain on here, he took it off and he went through the first stitch with his hook, like obviously while it's straight, because it's so much easier to tell that it's straight at this point. And then I'm trying to like show you guys both sides. And then he went back up and put his loop back on, his current loop back on. And then he just continued to chain. So let me tighten that a little bit. Let's see how this works. And the idea is that like you leave it on here and you just chain while on here. Like you leave the last thing on, the first stitch that you're going to connect back into. And then the idea is that at the end you can just pull the loop through and it should be facing the right way. Looks like it works. So if anybody else wanted to try that, you can go for it. I just saw this little hack on TikTok the other day, and I was thinking about it because I was like, well, we're gonna be doing a chain that we want to connect together. So if you guys need me to show you that again, I want to make sure that I made it clear enough. And I want to focus you. So here's the front of my stitches, and you can see like when it's smaller like this, it's easier to see the front, but like especially if you're making a really big chain, like you're chaining like 100 or something, and it's like super hard to not get it twisted. So what you do is you remove your loop from your hook. So I've got my loop up there that I'm working with, and then you go back to the first stitch and you're going to insert it. I'm trying to show you guys this from the front. You're going to insert it, and then you're just going to go back up and put your loop back on, And then you've got that on there and it's not twisted at all. And then, oops, I think I put my yarn on the wrong side of my project. One second. Make sure you have your working yarn hanging on the right side when you do that. But then you should be able to just continue to chain while having this first loop on. And then when you're done at the end, you should be able to just pull this through and nothing should be twisted. So I thought that was pretty cool. I had to try that out. But I'm just going to go back to doing this now. And I don't know that that'll work really well for this particular project because I need to test the length. Although I guess I could slide it over the bottom of the mug. So periodically accidentally take your yarn off of your hook anyway. But periodically test to see if it goes around your mug. So I've still got a little bit of distance to go. And just keep on a-chaining. I do think that would be really cool for like projects where you have a really big chain. I'm not really sure, like off the top of my head, what you would make with like a giant chain that you connect back to each other at the beginning, but I'm sure it's a thing. Like I'm sure there are projects where you do that. Okay, so once you get it so that your chains meet, go ahead and connect it back to the beginning. I think. Let me think about this for a second. Because I was thinking that you could slide it on. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Right? Okay, so here was my thinking. I was thinking that you could slide it on, because she didn't want it to go around the bottom just because it would be sitting on a hot plate, or whatever they're called, like a coffee warmer plate, and it could burn it, and that would be like a fire hazard. But what I was thinking is you could put it on, like sit your mug into it, put it on, and then put it on your coffee warmer. And I think that that's not like crazy to think, you know. And then that would give you like a nice secure point right here, because what I'm thinking is we'll have a button here. I'm gonna have to think about it when I get closer to the top about how I want to do that. But let's go ahead and connect the start and the end together. And then once you attach that, go ahead and make a slip stitch and pull that tightly. And then we're just going to start working granny clusters into our chain. So I'm thinking to chain 3, go into that first stitch after where you're at with a double crochet, and into that same stitch do another double crochet. And then skip to skip 2 and go in with a double crochet, not a single crochet. So skip 2 stitches on the chain and go in with a double crochet, and then in that same hole, that same chain loop, go in with another double crochet and another double crochet, so that you have a total of 3 double crochets in there. And then we're just going to skip 2 and we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to continue to do that all the way around. So that laugh hurt my core muscles because of coughing. I did take a COVID, or I guess we're not supposed to say that word on our channels because it's like YouTube doesn't like it or something. I did take a Rona. I don't know if that word's probably also, that's probably also a trigger word. I don't know if that's really a thing, but I've heard a few people say it, like a few different people say it now. That you shouldn't say that word because it's like they don't like it and then your channel won't get views. So hopefully that's not true. But I did take a test and it was negative. So that was like 2 days ago. And I don't have other symptoms really, so I didn't think it was that, because I've actually, after multiple years of not getting it, early this year I ended up getting it. And so I knew how that felt, at least when I got it that time. So I didn't think it was that. I'm just down here crocheting outside of camera view. I didn't think it was that, but you know, you can never be too cautious. And I have tests here at home. So I figured might as well take one. That's what they're there for. I was thinking allergies, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just continuing to do little granny clusters of 3 double crochets around, and I'm skipping 2 stitches in between each of them to give us kind of a foundation round. And when we get back to the other end, we will do a turn chain and turn back around, because we don't want to work in the round because of the mug handle. And that's why we'll be adding some buttons so that you can put it on and then secure it around it with the buttons. So we're just going to work this up to the desired, oh, here we go. I can sit back instead of being like, do you see? I could just sit back and then you can see. Work up to the desired circumference. So I was working on my 13 days of Halloween plans because I knew I wanted to do something cool for Halloween. And I decided on calling it 13 Days of Yarnoween. It is not clever at all, but I was like 13 days of something Oween, because I was like, you could definitely do, you know, like they do that. Like you see that all the time where it's like not Halloween, they like stick something else in there, or at least I feel like I do. See, I see that, so maybe it's just me, but so I was like, crochet-oween, no, crochet-ween. Let's see if this is ice cold. Surprisingly not, but it's getting there. But yeah, I'm gonna do 13 days of Yarnoween. That's so bad, but that's what I'm doing. So what I'm thinking it'll be is starting the like Tuesday, not the Tuesday before, but the Tuesday before the before. Let me pull up. Let me pull up the calendar. Obviously, I'll tell you guys all about this when it gets closer to time, but now I'm talking about it and I feel like I need to have my dates straight. So, October 17th is 2 Tuesdays, or no, 2 Mondays. One minute. Okay, I got my notebook. I am just scatterbrained today. So I started 13 days of Yarnoween. Okay, so it is starting on the Tuesday, not the Monday. When I was looking at the calendar, I was like, oh, did I mean to start it on Tuesday or did I mean to start it on Monday? Okay, so it's going to start on Tuesday the 18th, and then it'll go, and it'll be the 13 days of Yarnoween. And then Halloween day will be the 14th day, because the 13 days of Yarnoween is like counting down to the 14th day, which is going to be Halloween. And I've been working on plans for things to do on all of those days. And I'm not going to tell them to you just yet, but I'll give you like a super quick peek. And now you have to wait and find out later. But yeah, I've been working on getting that all planned out, and that's going to also be several tutorial videos for Halloween related type of tutorials. So I think that you guys will love that. Very excited for that. But when you get back to the beginning of Ruru, when you get back to the beginning, and I seem to perfectly have, it's either 1 or 2 stitches left, but either way that works for me. Go ahead and slip stitch back into the top of that chain 3 that we did when we started. And you should have something that looks like this. Okay, I'm back. So I was going to show you guys something. If you live in Texas and you like milk, and you like coffee, there is this really delicious thing. It is chilled, so the bottle is fogging up in the room if you can't really make it out. But it is this 1836 Farms cold brew coffee milk. It is so good. And they do different glass bottles, and these are like super thick, sturdy, like OG milk bottles, like back in the days when they did milk deliveries, milk bottles. I mean, you could definitely pour it into a glass and just have yourself a glass of it, but or you could just drink it out of the bottle. But yeah, these are absolutely delicious. So there you go. You can start to see the name of it. And they have like different themed bottles too. At different points in time, they look slightly different. Like they put different like logos printed on it or whatever. So I saved them. I have a few of them, and I use them to put like straws in or chopsticks or whatever. You could use them as vases. They would make really pretty vases. But yeah, I thought I would just show you guys those in case anyone else was interested in them. They are very yummy. And they have other flavors too. Like my husband likes to get dreamsicle flavored ones, or orange flavored, and they literally are like a straight up dreamsicle. These are the flavors that we have, which is coffee, cold brew, milk one, and...
I took my tag off.
Oh, he took his tag off. But this one is like an orange, and it literally tastes like dreamsicles. Super good. But anyway, back to what I was doing. So don't slip stitch into the top of that other stitch. I realized I had just said to slip stitch into the top of it, and I'm not to the editing phase, so I don't know if I cut that out because it was right at the end of my clip. But don't slip stitch to the top of it to try it on your mug. because we're going to do a turn chain and turn around. But go ahead at this point and try this on your mug and see if it's fitting at the bottom. So mine is fitting perfectly. And that gives us a nice little secure spot right there where that is connected, and we'll just pop it on from the bottom. And go ahead and put this back on your hook and chain 1. You know what, actually, chain 3. Chain 3 and then go ahead and turn so that you have your work facing the other way. And then you're just going to yarn over and go between the clusters. So you've got your first cluster of 3 stitches and your second cluster of 3 stitches. You're going to go in between these 2 clusters and you're going to put a double crochet. And then you're just going to go ahead and pop 2 more double crochets into there, so that you have a cluster. And then you're just going to continue to do that in between your stitches all the way around. In between your clusters, you're just going to pop 3 more double crochets so that you have another granny cluster. So in the interest of not making this too long, I might speed this part up. But I will still sit here and crochet with you. And I will try to crochet quickly. But I don't want to sit here just slowly crocheting and boring you if you're not making it with me. So. Oh, right. I don't know if I told you guys. So in my last crochet in chat, I talked about going to Michigan and seeing my family and how I was really excited for that. Well, we're going up for Halloween. We're going to be there for Halloween. And we decided to do a family themed, like a family, what is the word I'm looking for? Like when the whole family does like themed costumes. Maybe I just mean family costumes. I don't know. I felt like there was a word for it for some reason, but I can't think of it if there is. So we decided to do like a whole family does like a themed costume. And so my little nephew, who is currently the only grandkid, like, you know, the only child of my siblings and I, it has been really into Toy Story lately. So we're all doing Toy Story costumes. So everybody was like claiming their characters, and they were like, what do you and Caleb want to go as? And I was looking at the characters, because it was like, my sister sent some pictures of like groups of the characters, and she's like, you can pretty much be anything because there's so many characters. And I saw Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head and I was like, okay, we're gonna be Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, because I know it's super silly, like the silliest characters I could have picked probably, but I was like, they'll be really easy to do a costume for, because we just need to get some big brown shirts, and then we could do like, we could cut the facial features out of like felt. They sell little kits where you can get like the eyes and the nose and the mouth and all that, you know, like the Mr. Potato Head accessories. So it just sounded kind of fun to do, and then also like really easy to do. So I was like, yes, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. I also was like, this is like wholesome couples matching costumes, and we've never done like a couples costume before. So I was like, you know what? Yes, I love this. So we're doing Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And my nephew is going as, you know, the LGM, the little green men, the little aliens from the claw machine in Toy Story. Well, he's going as that. He's going as an LGM, but not just an LGM. They're going to take his little like toy car that you ride around in and try to turn it into a claw machine, so that he's like riding around in the claw machine as an LGM, which I think is going to be the cutest thing ever. So when you get back to the beginning and you just have your one cluster left, go ahead and throw a double crochet into the top of that chain 3. And when you have that, go ahead and chain 3. Or yeah, chain 3. Go ahead and chain 3, and then we're going to turn our work, and then we're just going to put 2 double crochets immediately in between that last row's chain 3 right there and the first granny square cluster. And then you're just going to work your way back down again, doing the same thing we were doing before, throwing 3 double crochets in between each cluster to make another cluster. And this is going to be the gist of what we're doing our whole way down. By the way, this is not, to clarify, this is not the pattern that I did on that other mug. That other mug, like I said, I will link the pattern for that one, the one with the bottom. But this is literally just me going back and forth with granny clusters, or granny stitches, to make a mug koozie. So don't worry, I'm not like trying to steal someone's pattern. We're gonna go back and forth until we get the height that we want. And then I'm thinking, wait, I'm not sure how I'm going to do the button yet. I'm thinking we might want 2 buttons, because I'm thinking we might want to put a button in between, well, yeah, I guess it'd be in between the handle where the top and the bottom of the handle are, and the gap where you put your fingers. I'm thinking we should put a button in there. And then I'm also like, this is what I'm torn about. So I'm thinking we'll put a button here, but then like, this is a pretty standard sized mug that I'm holding. I'm thinking possibly to have a strap go across here and have a button, or if I could make some kind of a wrap around, like maybe like do a longer chain, maybe it could go over the same button and then you'd only need 1 button. So we'll see when we get there, see what we do. But for now, we're just going to granny cluster our way around until we get the height that we want. And keep in mind that we don't want to go too high up, because you don't want to get your cozy on your lip when you're drinking your coffee. Because that was something that we discovered with the last cozy, was that it went up a little high on the original mug I made it on, which was a really big mug too. Like, and I didn't make that any bigger. Like, I didn't make it any extra height. So, by the way, I'm using a 5mm hook and a worsted weight yarn. I probably should have said that before I started, but that's what I'm using for reference. You could use any size you want though, because it's your cozy and you can decide how you want it to be. If you make it with a bigger hook, the stitches will be a little bit looser, and it'll come out a little bit bigger. If you use a smaller hook, it'll come out a little bit more tightly stitched and a little bit smaller. I had my stitch get messed up and now I don't remember what I was doing with it. Was this supposed to go? There we go. I was like, was that the one that I pulled through, or was that the, was I supposed to pull a loop through it? All right, and I'm back around to the last row. And on this row, I have the gap with a chain at the end instead of a cluster. So I'm just gonna put a cluster in here. And then I'm gonna try this on my mug and see what kind of height I'm looking at. So this is 3 rows so far of just granny clusters. And let's see how this is looking. Okay, so here's how mine is looking. So it's getting to be a pretty good height. I'm thinking, I've got 3 on here. I'm thinking maybe I'll do 5 in total. So I think I'll do 2 more. And then I'm going to look at it for a minute and kind of figure out what I want to do as far as the button situation goes. And then I will come back and let you guys know what the next step is. So just continue till you get to the height that you want. Okay, so I got my rows done. I did 2 more rows, so I have 5 rows in total. And this is how mine is looking. And at this point, I got my, I'm still attached. I just pulled that out so I could try it on. I think I'm going to go ahead and chain to make a loop. Because here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we'll do 1 button if it works out. I kind of held it on there and thought that that sounded like a good way to do it, but I haven't actually tried it. So I'm thinking that I'll put the button like right here so that it's kind of in the middle between the handle top and bottom. And then with this button here, I'll be able to pull the stitch over and put it over it, because, you know, you've got plenty of space in between your granny stitches to put a button. But then also for added security around the handle, I'll do a chain here and I'll wrap it and it'll wrap around and it can go over the button too. So that's what I'm thinking, as long as that works out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain, and I'm thinking I should do a decently long chain since it's going to wrap down from around the top of the handle. So just going to chain an arbitrary amount and try it out, see if it seems like the right length. I guess I could go ahead and attach my button too, actually. So there's some chain. I'm going to pull that and I'm going to go ahead and attach this button. I did not grab any thread, but I do have some scrap yarn sitting over here. So I'm just going to grab some scrap yarn in a color that won't stand out too much. I'm just going to use some gray scrap yarn. And these are those charts that I'm in the process of cutting out. And I've got like 20 pages or something. And then I'm going to line them all up and put them on the wall. Okay. So I got some scrap yarn and I'm just going to split the plies because I don't need this big of, like this thick. So I split it in half. So now I have two stranded pieces. And I might even split that again. Let me look at the holes in my button. I think that'll be good. So the way that I'm going to get it in is I have one of these types of needles with the little plastic end. And I'm just going to put the plastic end through my buttonhole like so. See if I can get it to focus. Really wants to focus on my face. Maybe if I do this. Okay, now somebody focus it. There we go. So put this little plastic piece through the hole in my button, and then I'm just going to thread it through here. Trying to keep it up here so it doesn't lose focus, and then I have to refocus it. But it's difficult to do at this angle. Did I succeed? Yay! And then I'm just going to pull on this, and it pulled it through for me. So I got this needle on Amazon as part of like a little pack of needles. I got that's where I got my curved metal needle that I love so much. That is so good for amigurumi. And it came with this needle. And I actually had never seen one of these before. And I was like, huh, it's actually pretty useful. It's very good for putting yarn through. And then I'm just going to do the same thing. I stuck my needle back up through the other buttonhole and pulling that through. And then now I've got my button threaded. So you can thread your button however you thread your button. But that's how I threaded mine. And then I'm just going to put it on. Gonna put my cut back in here and kind of look at it. So I have 5 rows on mine. And let's see, how do I want to do this? So you're just gonna put your cozy on and kind of get an idea. I'm kind of looking at it like trying to get an idea of where I want to put the button. Mine overlaps a bit. I probably could have made it a little bit smaller, but I'm okay with it overlapping a bit. Like if I pull on it, it overlaps a bit because I think that that'll work really well for attaching to a button. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the middle because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I do have 5 rows, but I have like a middle cluster right here. I'm just going to put it in the middle of this cluster because I have 3 clusters on one side. I'm just going to put it in the middle of that, and I'm just going to use this same needle again because that worked so well for getting this curly yarn that I had split the plies for, so it's kind of crimped up. And I'm just gonna pull it through, pull both of my yarns through, and then I'm gonna put some knots. I'm gonna put some knots in the back. There's technically a bird printed on this, so try to not put the bird upside down if I can. So I'm just threading this through, and then I'm gonna thread the other one through. And hopefully this works. I mean, not the threading, I mean hopefully the idea works. So I've got the 2 yarns threaded through the back. And that's what it looks like on the front. And then I'm just going to knot these 2. I'm going to do probably 3 knots. Nice and tight. Especially make sure that first knot is nice and tight because it's going to be the one that secures your button to the crochet. And if you don't do it nice and tight, then attaching stuff to the button won't really do much. I'm actually going to do 4 knots just because I feel like I need 4 knots. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my tails. 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 And then it's gonna look like I'm dropping threads all over the place. It'll look like this. So here's what mine looks like. If you look at it from the side, we've got our little connecting spot down here. We'll weave in this tail here in a minute. And then we've got our button on the side, and we can overlap and put it through one of these holes. Obviously that'll depend on the size of button that you have. But honestly, these are so like stretchy and flexible, these big gaps between the granny stitches. I don't think unless you're using an absolutely massive button that you'd have a problem getting it in there. So I'm going to slide it on and try it out. And then that'll also give me an idea of how long to make my chain. Okay, so here's what mine looks like. I went over like 2 stitches because that's where it lined up with like the exact placement of where the button is. But you don't have to go over 2 stitches. You could just kind of go up or down a little bit if you wanted to. So that's what mine looks like. And then I'm going to crochet this chain long enough so that I can go around from this other side, go around the handle and back down to the button, which actually, and it's not, we're not using this as our loop. We want this to be a loop. So it's going to need to be twice as long because we're going to come back up here and turn it into a loop. And then the loop will be what we stretch down to go around our button. So make it about twice the length that you need for the chain to actually reach down to the button. That sound was my dog wagging her tail. So I'm going to go ahead and attach back on to, that's my dog Tataru, for everyone who hasn't seen Tataru, which is I think everyone on my channel probably. Are you a good girl, Ruru?
She's always a good girl.
Are you a good girl? So I'm still attached to my coffee mug, and I'm attached to my chain again, and I'm just going to add some more length and keep testing that until I'm happy with the length. Let's see how that is. Oh yeah, I think that should be perfect. So now that I've got my length where I want it, I think that this length will be perfect to wrap around, because I kind of tested it by holding these two together, which is really hard to show you because I need my other hand to hold the mug up for you. But I kind of tested it by wrapping it around, and I think that that'll work great. So I'm going to slip stitch back in somewhere around where I came out at and secure it onto here so that this is looped and secured. And then I will cut my yarn. So let me attach back on here. Doesn't really matter if your chain is straight, I guess, for this part. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the stitch next to where I came out, because I think it'll give me a little extra security. And then after I slip stitch, I'm just going to do a chain 1. And then I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving enough to weave in my tail. And then I'm just going to pull my hook out like this so that that chain 1 becomes a knot. and pull it tightly. And then before weaving in my ends, just because I want to make sure everything worked out good, I'm going to grab my little like secure thingy, fasten-y thing, and wrap it around my coffee mug handle and around the button, which is, I'm trying to show you and see what I'm doing at the same time. There we go. And I think that that worked out great. So here is what it looks like. And I'm going to weave in my ends, and then I will come right back and show you guys what the finished product looks like, or finished project. All right, guys, and the finished item is this. So here is what mine came out looking like. If anybody else makes one of these, feel free to send me a picture. I would love to see what it comes out like. My email is in the description, or you can tag me on Instagram. So here's what it looks like not on. And this, just to give you some clarity of where I went in, this right here is the hole that I went in when I secured my button for mine personally. And then I wrap around the handle and secure this strap over the button also, which without the handle here, it's obviously very loose, but you know, with the handle there, it gives it a little security at the top without putting a button so close to where our mouth is going to be. So to show you with it on, so the way that I'm putting it on, by the way, is since it's got that bottom part that is attached, is I'm just sitting it down into here. And you could just sit your mug on your desk or wherever you're sitting, you know, and do that. And then just button it through here, which is difficult to do on camera, so I'm going to put it down while I do that for a second. And after you get that one buttoned, you're going to wrap this around and put another button, or put it over the button again. So let me do that. And I'm using like, I think it might be a cardinal on this button. I got some like little wooden buttons off of Amazon, and that's what I've been using. And it just came with like a bunch of buttons. And here's what it looks like. And I probably could have even done this chain a little bit tighter. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I probably could have done this a little bit tighter also, but I was just kind of coming up with it on the fly, and I am very happy with that. And it gives you a nice distance for you to drink, since you're picking the height that you're going to. And then this makes it so that you don't have to go so high up, because you're not trying to put a button right here, you know, and secure it over the top of this, because that's going to make it so you have to have your koozie up higher. So I think this one button method, also it just looks cute. I think it looks very cute. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful, and if anyone decides to make it, let me know. I hope everybody has a great Saturday and a great weekend, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys!